Finding balance in life can be a real challenge. It's like trying to juggle 5 or 6 different pins and letting one or more of them drop. Eventually, it's going to happen. There are about 7 different areas where we all need to have some level of balance. And if we are out of balance, then we find that we indulge in retail therapy, we overeat, we might stop exercising or become irritable or start to flake on our commitments. So as you can see, paying attention to the 7 areas of your life that we're going to go over are going to be the key to keeping you happy and healthy. In this video, we're going to address those 7 areas, but for the sake of keeping it short, I'm going to lump a couple of those together. And I'm going to give you a few tips to help you bring yourself back into alignment in the areas that you feel you're lacking. I'm Monica Valentine, and I help people to find what they're passionate about and integrate it into their lifestyle and career so that they can have the most joyful, fulfilling existence possible. Now, in order to figure out where you're lacking, I want you to think about the different areas that I'm going to read to you and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. If you are seriously lacking balance in an area, then it's going to be a rating of 1 or somewhere between a 1 or a 6. And if you have a lot of balance in a particular life area, it might be rated somewhere between a 7 and a 10. So here are those 7 areas of life to look at: well-being, relationships, personal development, fun and creativity, physical environment, finances, and career. Keep in mind that big change does not happen overnight. So if there are a few areas where you are completely out of balance, take it a day and a step at a time. What's one thing you can do today, or what's one thing that you can focus on this week to strengthen and add more peace and balance to your life in that area? The first area that we're going to tackle is career and personal development. And the first key that I have for you in terms of finding balance in that area is to have goals for both your personal development and your career. There's nothing worse than looking back at the past 3 to 6 years of your life and realizing that you're exactly where you were way back then, and that you're still not any happier in certain areas of your life. Like maybe you have relationships that are sort of toxic or unfulfilling. Maybe you have a career that you really just don't like and you dread going to work every day. When you have a goal, you have a vision for what you would like to accomplish. And having that vision helps you to bridge the gap from where you are currently to where you want to be. So what are the areas that you can look at right now and set goals for yourself? I'm going to recommend that you set both short-term and long-term goals. And an example of a short-term goal is anything from 1 week to 6 months down the road. An example of a long-term goal is something between 6 months to a year or more. There is definitely an art to goal setting, and I'm going to be doing a video in the future all about that. And in the meantime, though, I'm going to give you a few tips, and that is to set your weekly goals to meet your quarterly goals, and to set your quarterly goals to meet your yearly goals. And so you can see that if you have a big picture for your year in terms of the overall of what you would like to accomplish, you chunk it down into smaller pieces. So you chunk it into quarters, and then based on what you need to accomplish in that quarter, you're going to break that further down into months, and then break that even further down into weeks. So hopefully that wasn't too convoluted, but like I said, I will be doing a video on goal setting. And if you're not subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and do so that you don't miss a video in the future. The second thing I recommend in terms of balancing your career and personal life is to know what you value and integrate it into those areas of your life. Values are concepts and standards that you hold for yourself. Just like the life balance areas that we're discussing today, so too do values correlate with those as well. And so when you find that you have a value in a specific area, such as career, for example, you want to be sure that you're observing those values in that area of your life in order to have the most fulfillment. Knowing what you value is hugely important because it can help you make life decisions very easily. And also, in those times when you're most confused, or you feel like you have a challenging situation where you just don't know what to do, you can always check back with your value system, and they will point the way to the right thing to do. for you specifically. Knowing what we value and then observing it in our lives is a great way to keep us from facing troubles down the road. It keeps you from getting into sticky situations and having either subpar results or really just facing disasters and things that could have easily been avoided. Now let's move into the second life area where you would ideally have balance, and that is health. And I know right now you're expecting me to say that you should eat right and exercise, and obviously you should do those things in order to feel in balance and to experience physical health. But I'm going to go a step further and bring something up that you probably wouldn't have considered, and that is to admit when you're wrong and make amends where you need to. Holding on to resentments or creating resentments in others that we interact with on a daily basis can really create toxicity in our lives, and it can make us sick, physically sick, when we have that toxicity regularly in our lives. When we're able to admit our wrongs, it really shows a sense of true character. Not many people are willing to show that they have weaknesses, and when you're able to do that, you have made yourself vulnerable to another person, but it is coming from a place of strength because you know where you stand and you're okay with admitting that you have faults. And when you're able to admit that you have faults, it helps you to open yourself up to the idea that you could possibly fail at things, which in turn makes you more courageous in trying new things in your life. And that can only lead to better opportunities down the road. When you realize that failure is a learning curve and that it really is just showing you areas that you can improve, learn, and grow, then really you're taking all of the power back from the situation. Another great thing about admitting our wrongs and making them right is that it helps us to maintain and foster our relationships. Nothing kills relationships faster than not admitting wrongs and placing blame and letting resentments grow. The next thing to do to find balance in the area of health is to laugh often, do random acts of kindness, and give love. A recent study by the University of Maryland found that when people laugh at a movie, that their blood flow increases, which means that laughter is actually good for your heart. Also, doing those random acts of kindness is just as good for you because it helps to increase the oxytocin levels in our body and decrease cortisol. Oxytocin is a feel-good hormone, while cortisol is a stress hormone. So you are improving your good vibes and decreasing all that stress. The third life area where you might need to find balance would be in the area of your home or your physical environment. And for this, my top tip is to go minimalist. Now, I don't literally mean that you should only have 100 items to your name, but it is a good idea to clear the clutter and the excess. Do you really need all of those clothes? You probably only wear half of them. Do you really need all of those shoes and handbags and magazines and books? Probably not. So to help you clear the clutter, one of the things that you can do is grab a couple of boxes, put your things in them, set it aside somewhere out of the way, and when your friends come to visit, let them go through the boxes and take out the goodies that they most want. After they've been picked through thoroughly, it's a good idea to then take them to the Salvation Army or Goodwill. And what you're doing is you're helping out your friends as well as the people in your community. And what feels better than that? It's a random act of kindness. So a few benefits to cleaning out the clutter in your home are, number one, you really get to be intentional about the things that you keep in your space. So you keep the most treasured things and the things that you find the most beautiful. And when there's less around you, your eyes naturally go to those things. And it's just really a good feeling to look around your space and to lightly rest your eyes on a beautiful object or on something that reminds you of someone that you love. I personally have kept a small Buddha statue that a dear friend of mine gave me about 20 years ago, and it has a place in a curio cabinet along with a few other hand-selected items. Having less things also gives you more time in your week or even in your day. When you have things that need to constantly be organized or dusted or shifted or moved, you are really just spending a lot of extra time that you could otherwise be using doing things like having fun or building new skills that could lead to opportunities or extra cash. The second thing to do to bring balance to your home life or to your surroundings is to rearrange the furniture. This is something that a good friend of mine does regularly in his home office. Every time he rearranges it, he has a new sense of creativity and inspiration. It's really fun to watch the configurations as they come about and to also see how excited he gets when he has that new spark of inspiration. Rearranging your furniture is especially important in areas of your home or workspace where you need to be there and doing tasks, particularly when it's a room that you don't feel all that comfortable in. If you find that you don't often want to spend time in the space, then that's a really good indication that either one, you need to clear clutter and organize, or two, you need to rearrange the furniture. And it could be a combination of both of those things. So try that out, particularly in your workspaces. So now let's get into the fourth life area to bring balance, and that is finances. And the first most obvious thing to do in the area of your money is to keep a budget so that you're not spending more than you're earning and digging yourself a financial hole, which in turn causes a lot of stress and chaos. In terms of budgeting, I recommend using an app like Mint, for example, that pulls in all of the data from your bank accounts. And that would include checking accounts, saving accounts, credit cards, retirement accounts, and the like. This is really helpful to be able to see all of it in one place, and you can also categorize what you're spending so you know if you're keeping the budget in the various areas that you're setting your goals for. If you're not so comfortable with the idea of using an app, another couple of ways that you could track your spending would be by using a spreadsheet or by using a simple ledger book. One of the inconvenient truths about keeping a budget is that you actually need to look at your money every single day or at least every single week. It needs to become a habit. If it's not a habit, then it's really easy to get confused about how much money you currently have to spend. Another thing that you can do to make sure you're staying on budget is to use cash and to set it aside for the various areas in the amounts that you have determined that you can spend. Put those in an envelope for each of those areas, and when the money is gone, then you're done spending in that category. So for example, maybe you put $300 in an envelope just for groceries, and you only use that when you go to the grocery store. Keep in mind that if your income or expenses change, you're going to need to revisit your budget and set all new parameters for yourself. The second thing I recommend to get in balance with your money situation is to learn as much as you can about it. We are not taught how to manage our money in school, which is really unfortunate and probably why most of us live paycheck to paycheck. Also, it's a taboo subject, and it's just not something that we're really used to hearing about unless we go out and seek for that information. I recommend reading books, blogs, magazines, listening to audios, podcasts, or even taking a course. The more you can learn about money, the better off you're going to be in your future. And the third and final thing I recommend in the area of finances is to save for a rainy day. Save a nest egg. If you have 1/2 a year's worth of expenses saved, you're going to have so much more peace of mind and you're going to sleep better at night. It is night and day how free you feel when you know that if the worst were to happen, like your car breaks down, you have a medical emergency, or you get laid off from your job, that you're going to be okay from month to month. 6 months expenses is the recommended amount to have in savings, but if you're a business owner, I would recommend having even more than that. Some ways that you can save this little nest egg are to first determine how much you need, and then to automate the money that goes from your checking account into your savings account. You can set this up with your bank. If you know how much money you're going to earn every month, this is a really efficient thing to do, and it's mindless. Like, once you set it, you can forget it, and it just works for you month over month, which is fantastic. If you own a business or you work in the service industry for tips, then you might find that this is not something that you can regularly do, but keep in mind what your budget is and try to save every single week a certain percentage, or every time you deposit money into your account, you're going to take a certain amount or percentage out and put it into savings. If you find that you don't have enough money to make your savings goal every month, then it's time to look at your expenses and figure out where you can cut the fat. You might want to stop getting takeout coffee and going to restaurants or bars, and you might cut out subscriptions that just are really not necessary. Another way to quickly pad your nest egg account is to, if you get a tax refund, put all of that money directly into savings. And the final thing to do would be to put that nest egg into a high yield savings account so that you're earning more interest month after month than you would in another savings account. This is particularly helpful the more money you have. The final life area that we will cover is the area of relationships. For this, I recommend the top thing to do would be to identify the most important relationships in your life and to give your time and attention to them. We all need those connections with the people who love us and have our backs at the end of the day. Who are those people for you? Is it your family? Is it a chosen family of friends? When you determine who these people are, block out time for them on your calendar. How often do you need to call them? Put that on your calendar. How often do you want to see them? And also, when you're with these people, be sure to give them your undivided attention. So if you're the kind of person who's constantly getting text messages, I recommend putting your phone on Do Not Disturb and hiding it away so that you're not tempted when you hear a ding to go and grab it. And while you're not on your phone and you're having conversation with that special person, be sure that you're really listening to what they're saying. If you find that your mind is wandering, then as soon as you realize it, snap your attention back and repeat what they have said to you. If you have missed the point altogether, then that person will bring you back up to speed. And the next thing I recommend to bring balance to your relationships is to strengthen the qualities within you that will help to foster better relationships. So consider the ones that you find to be your weakest. Maybe you're not that great of a communicator, or you're jealous or selfish, or you have problems with vulnerability. Take the time each week to work on one new area where you find that you're not as strong. So that's it for my tips on these 5 life areas. If you have any tips that help you to find balance in your life, leave them in the comments below. We can all benefit from each other's knowledge. That's it for this video. Thank you for sticking around and watching, and I hope that you found value and benefit from this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and share this with a friend. But please subscribe to the channel. I'm releasing a new video every single week to help you live your best life. And with that, I will see you here next week.